He's
At
inside.
2:13 a.m., a woman called 911 and whispered 3 words. "He's inside. Please." The dispatcher tried to keep her on the line. 7 seconds later, the call ended. By the time patrol cars rolled up to the house on Maple Street, the woman who made that call was gone. The porch light was on, the front door slightly open. Inside, the living room looked ordinary. A lamp still warmed the room with a soft glow. A coffee mug sat on the counter. But there was no sign of a struggle, no broken glass, no overturned furniture. Just a single, terrifying absence. Emily Parker. Ridgewood, Ohio, was the kind of town that kept its secrets under trimmed hedges and porch swings. 9,000 people, quiet streets, kids who knew every neighbor's name. Crime here was something you heard about happening somewhere else. So when Emily vanished on the night of November 14th, the entire town shifted on its axis. Emily was 27, a nurse who had come back home after nursing school. She worked nights at Ridgewood Medical Center. She stayed late to calm frightened patients. She brought cookies to the staff room. And almost every evening, she called her mother just to talk about nothing. Recipes, plans, trips she hoped to take someday. She had a laugh that made coworkers smile. She had an apartment full of plants, a backpack by the door. She had a future. At least, she did until that night. Security footage showed Emily leaving the hospital at 6:40 p.m., a coffee cup in one hand, a small backpack over her shoulder. Just another nurse heading home after a long shift. At 7:15 p.m., she texted her best friend. "Long shift, finally home." That was the last confirmed message anyone would ever receive from her. Neighbors later remembered something strange. A dark sedan parked down the street. At the time, it seemed unremarkable. Visitors came and went all the time. But after the 911 call, it suddenly meant something. When officers searched Emily's house, they found details that didn't make sense. Her purse was on the counter. Her phone was plugged in on the couch. Her keys sat on the entry table. Nothing suggested she planned to go anywhere. And then investigators saw it. On the hallway floor, a single muddy footprint. It didn't match Emily's shoes, and it didn't match the boots of any responding officer. Detectives began asking the questions that always come first. Who would want to hurt Emily? Who knew her routine? Early suspicion landed on Daniel Reeves, her ex-boyfriend. They had broken up only weeks earlier. Friends said the breakup was rough. There were angry messages, arguments, tense phone calls. Daniel had a motive in the simplest human sense: anger and jealousy. He was brought in for questioning. But the case turned on one cold fact. Surveillance from a highway gas station placed Daniel almost 30 miles away at the time Emily disappeared. One grainy clip of camera footage destroyed the case against him. The first suspect was gone, and investigators were back at the beginning. 2 days later, a hunter walking along a narrow trail outside town spotted something in the leaves. A woman's jacket. It was Emily's. Search teams flooded the woods. Helicopters circled overhead. Dogs pulled hard on their leashes, noses to the ground. Volunteers walked shoulder to shoulder through fields and trees. But after days of searching, there was still nothing. No body, no weapon, no answers. The breakthrough came from a traffic camera more than a mile away. At 1:47 a.m., less than 30 minutes before the 911 call, a dark sedan rolled through an empty intersection. It matched the car neighbors had seen. Investigators ran the license plate. The result surprised everyone. The car belonged to Marcus Hale. Marcus had been invisible during the early investigation. He fixed lights, moved equipment, walked hospital corridors unnoticed. Nobody had thought to question him. But detectives obtained a warrant and searched his apartment. Inside a back closet, they found something important: a pair of heavy work boots. Forensic analysts compared the sole pattern with the muddy footprint found inside Emily's home. It was a match. When detectives confronted Marcus with the evidence, he broke. Slowly, like a trapdoor opening. He admitted he had been watching Emily for weeks. He followed her from the hospital parking lot. He parked down the street from her home, and sometime after midnight, he forced his way inside. A struggle followed, and in a moment that turned ordinary life into tragedy, Marcus Hale killed Emily Parker. Marcus later led police down a gravel road deep into the woods outside Ridgewood. He stopped beside a patch of disturbed soil, a shallow grave. Investigators dug. Beneath leaves and cold earth, they found Emily. During the trial, jurors heard the full story: the surveillance footage, the muddy footprint, the confession. They saw photographs of the jacket, of the house, of the place in the woods where Emily was buried. After only a few hours of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict. Marcus Hale was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. But Ridgewood never truly recovered. The town learned something many quiet communities eventually learn: safety can be an illusion. Porches that once stayed open now have cameras. Parents walk their kids to school. Conversations carry a new edge of caution. And outside the hospital where Emily worked, a small memorial continues to grow. Flowers, notes, a photograph of a smiling nurse. Emily Parker was a daughter, a friend, a nurse who stayed late to comfort strangers. She was also the woman who made a 7-second 911 call and vanished into the night. The question she whispered, "He's inside, please," was answered in a way Ridgewood never wanted. And even now, people in that town say the memory of that night still lingers, in the quiet spaces between porch lights, in the shoes by the door, and in the faces of those who learned, too late, how fragile an ordinary life can be.